Kia ora, this is Arun Jacob, your friendly and frank licensed New Zealand immigration advisor as well as education advisor. As always, making my videos from my office in Hamilton in New Zealand and sharing with all of you lovely people who have an interest to study or migrate to New Zealand. Well, it's been a busy day for me today, busy with about 3 or 4 different visa applications that I'm working on to submit to Immigration New Zealand. One of these visas happens to be the spouse visa application of a person who is living in New Zealand, and unfortunately this a lady who is overseas, she applied for a visa as the wife of a citizen of New Zealand, but that visa got declined, stating that the marriage is very recent and that there isn't adequate proof of the partnership, and it cannot be established that they are in a genuine and long-term relationship. And so this person who lives in New Zealand, he calls me. He is actually a citizen of New Zealand, and he called me and he said that I have this trouble with my wife not being able to get a visa. Please help me to now fight this case and hopefully win it again. So I've been having a look, and I also did a bit of a conversation with him and to understand what exactly they did. And it appears that they got married quite recently, about I think about 3 months back. And almost immediately upon the marriage, what they did was they went ahead and filed for the spouse visa application. And you know, there was not a lot of proof that was offered in terms of the documentation to show how they met and how their relationship progressed, and that their although their marriage is recent, why there is still a basis for seeking a spouse visa. Unfortunately, the case was not well presented, and that is the reason that the officer assessing the case decided that it was not worthy enough to be granted a visa for the spouse, and that is why they declined. So the reason I'm making this video is to let everybody who's planning to come to New Zealand know that do not automatically assume that a spouse visa will be granted. It does not matter whether you're coming as a student or you're already a resident or a citizen here in New Zealand. There seems to be an automatic assumption among some of the people who are planning to come here, or people who are already here in New Zealand, that you just get married and put your marriage certificate and 10 or 15 photographs and present that application, and the immigration department will immediately tick and say, yeah, okay, good to go. It's not going to happen that way, because the spouse visa, which is dependent on the person who is here in New Zealand, whether as a student or a worker or a citizen or whatever, is something that is being looked at quite seriously in the current scenario of all the immigration stuff that is happening here in New Zealand. There's already a move to review the spouse and children category of people who hold a visa called the essential skills work category. So you need to treat the spouse dependent work or visit visa with some respect. I know especially students who are planning to come here, their agents will tell them that it is very, very easy. You just you just get your admission and your visa as a student, and apply, and the spouse will get the visa to accompany you. They'll make it sound very easy, but as stated in one of my previous videos as well pertaining to spouse work visas, there have been way too many cases where the student has landed in New Zealand and the spouse got stranded back in India or Sri Lanka or Nepal or whichever country that this family is from. So do not treat this spouse dependent visas with flippancy. Give it the respect it deserves. I mean, in this instance, it is a citizen of New Zealand, so there was probably a bit of an assumption that, oh, I have already crossed a few stages and bridges along the way, and I have now reached that point where, I am firmly established in New Zealand. So it is not going to be very difficult for me to get my spouse over. But as is evident from this particular case, Immigration New Zealand treats all these spouse visas with the same yardstick. And I think what matters is how well that case is presented and how well that case is argued, if there is any issues around it, and how well it is established that these are two people who intend to be in a strong and sustaining and genuine relationship. I think that's what matters. So don't treat it lightly. Be very, very careful of what your agents tell you, especially your education agents. I would strongly recommend that you take the help of a licensed immigration advisor, because the other problem with the spouse work visas is that most of these agents in different countries who process the student visa are not supposed to process the spouse visa if they do not have a license. But they will not share that information with you because it is not good for their business, and it will come across like they can only do half of the work. So they will try and hide that fact from you, and many of you are not aware of the Immigration Advisors Licensing Act, which makes it illegal for anybody who does not have a license to put any visa application other than a student visa application if they are overseas. So I would say this is a critical moment in your life where you're planning a very important move from your country to a new country like New Zealand, and you plan to bring your spouse over. If you're already spending $20,000-$30,000 on your education and associated costs to come into New Zealand, it is absolutely worthwhile to spend some more and hire the services of a good professional licensed immigration advisor. I'm not saying necessarily come to me. I'm just suggesting that you need to take professional advice about these matters at a critical juncture in your life. So that is my information, advice and suggestion today to all the people who are planning to bring a spouse into New Zealand. Do not treat it lightly. This visa is not something that is an automatic grant from the immigration department. It will be scrutinized. We are reassessing a lot of things here in the country in terms of immigration policies, and I think increasingly spouse and children will come under scrutiny as well. So the first time is the best time to present a good case. So seek professional help and get it done the right way. I hope this information was useful, and if some of you want advice from my company, which is AJV Services, please do not hesitate to contact us, and we'll be more than happy to give our best advice and services for you to move to New Zealand and make it your new home. Thank you very much. Kia ora.